Good evening, and welcome to the July 19, 2016 Combined Study Session regular meeting. At this time, I'd like to make note that all members of the board are present this evening. And this is usually gives me the link. Did you get that? Okay. And so we'll move on to our Pledge of Allegiance. And Ms. Bledsoe, would you please come forward and introduce our guests?
Thank you, Dr. Frederick, School Board. This evening I have these three handsome gentlemen with me. They came right here and stand beside me. He was doing his own thing. It was good. So I'd like to introduce you to Liam, Dalen, and Merrick. Liam's a 7th grader at Cherokee. Dalen is a 6th grader at Wilson's Creek, and Merrick is a 4th grader at McBride. And they're accompanied tonight by their mother, Kristen. Back in the back. These three young men were among the 500 students who participated in artworks class this summer, and I suspect their interest in the arts comes from their mother, who teaches art at Mann Elementary School. And among the three of them, they took almost 24 classes as part of artworks. So they are dedicated arts enthusiasts, ranging from cartooning to drawing to performing arts. What other classes did you take? Paper mache, dancing. This is an aspiring actor, I think. So as part of the Explore classes, we offered classes at 2 different schools, Bingham and the former Sherwood building. And as these boys demonstrate, there are a number of different options to meet anybody's interests. So at this time, I'd ask you to stand as they lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And gentlemen, I'd like to present you with a certificate. Thank you for coming this evening. And Merrick. Thank you. So as part of our Honoring Excellence, we would like to highlight the accomplishments of the Central High School HOSA chapter. This group is future health professionals, and they recently competed at the HOSA International Conference in Nashville this summer. Earlier this spring, there were 19 Central students who competed at the state level and qualified to move on to compete at the international competition. So tonight, representing the HOSA chapter is our 2017 Teacher of the Year, Adrienne Decker, and the HOSA chapter sponsor, Adrienne, if you and Sophie would come forward. Sophie Scott is the chapter vice president, and she was, I'll go ahead and come forward. She was on the team that won the silver medal for the public service announcement category. Central took 2nd place, a silver medal, in this category where there were about 150 other entries for an effective PSA about the health hazards of sitting. So we're fortunate to have a copy of that 30-second PSA this evening. So I would be happy to show that to you.
We should stand and watch it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Hello. I've been reviewing your test results, and your BMI indicate that you're overweight due to inactivity, which can cause depression, anxiety, high blood pressure,
Heart disease, diabetes, hypertension, and even premature death.
I'd like you to be more active.
I understand that there was part of a presentation that you had to make in addition to just creating the video. So they went through quite a screening process to win that award. Other members on the team that helped create the video are Owen Arnold, Ryan Birch, Riley James, Alabelle Lindsay, and Grace Wiley. And Jacob Williams, who graduated in May, placed 4th in extemporaneous writing. on the topic of mental illness. And in addition, Central's chapter was recognized with a Chapter Reflection Award. So I'd like to congratulate Adrienne and Sophie on behalf of their HOSA chapter for their accomplishments this summer. Thank you.
See, we all stood up because we're quick learners. Sitting is dead. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. We appreciate taking your time to come this evening and help remind us why we do what we do. Okay, at this time we're going to move on to our approval of agenda. Recommended action is that the board approve the agenda as presented. So do I have a motion to approve Tuesday, July 19th, combined regular and study session meeting?
So moved.
Thank you. Tim Rosenberry, do I have a second? Second. Okay, I think I heard Charles first. I'll just make a decision there. Second by Charles Taylor. At this time, please vote. Thank you. Voting is complete. We'll move on to our public comments. The Board of Education welcomes comments from the audience about the issues being discussed. Do we have comments to see? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to consent agenda items. Consent agenda 3, approval of minutes. Consent agenda 4, contracts, agreements, bids, and change orders. And consent agenda personnel. We vote all 3. And this is a combined study and regular session, so we've had a few days to look over those, and hopefully if you've had questions, you've had a chance to have those answered the last few days. So at this time, if there's no comments or questions, we'll move forward with action to approve the consent agenda items for this evening. Do I have a motion? Thank you. Jerry Lee, and a second? Second. Bruce Renner? Please vote. Thank you. Vote is complete. Moving on, Treasurer's Report. This time Ms. Embry will come before us with our Treasurer's Report.
Good evening. The month of July is always a bit reduced from a treasurer's report perspective because, as you well remember, we had that meeting on June 28th, and we were able to provide you with a lot more information at that point in time. So this evening we have restated the general budget summary for your review. That's the same document that was included as part of the June 28th budget and other information posted. We do have the bond financials, and those are updated through June 30, as well as the schedule of investments. And we had a few more checks that were written on June 29 and June 30, and so those checks have been provided for your approval as well. So next month we will get into our regular routine where we will start bringing you other documents, including budget amendments and transfer data, that type of thing. But as a reminder, we won't bring you the final data for the 2015-16 year until we've gone through the financial audit and present that final information to you. That will occur later in the fall. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Discussion? Comments? Okay, so this is an action item, so at this time, do I hear a motion from the board that we approve July 19, 2016 Treasurer's Report as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. Jill Patterson, do I have a second?
Second.
Charles Taylor. Thank you, Charles, and we shall vote. you. Voting is complete. Moving on to information reports. This evening we will hear 2013 bond projects quarterly status report, and Mr. Scott Wint will come forward and his speakers.
Thank you. Good evening. As we look at our quarterly report update, I'm happy to introduce Mr. Brian Saunders, our Director of Construction, and he will go through and give you some summary highlights of our report. And answer any questions after that.
Thank you, Scott. And good evening. As Scott said, tonight I'm going to give you a brief update on the status of our 2013 quarterly bond report, 2013 bond projects. You will see in your board docs at each of the 5 projects, including the preface pages, a summary of the contract log, and that includes in each page a construction budget, change orders to date, total current contract amounts, and total change order percentages. This evening I'll be sharing with you highlights and brief highlights of our 2 remaining projects, the Fremont Elementary and Kickapoo Phase 2, the auditorium, which is also a FEMA safe room. Fremont. As we did the last time I visited you, we have just an overall conceptual. You can see an idea of the overall plan. Moving to how we had explained to you, have each of the quarterly reports, the 3 segments, the areas A, B, and C of our Fremont project. Currently, and many of these were taken just in the last couple of days, you see the status of the front entry. There's on the north side, looking south. The cubicle, the element to your right there is your main entry. This is it right here. You see we completed at the brick on your far left, and we have the architectural panels there on the entry and the main front doors. Looking a little bit to your left, a little bit on the east, you see the front of some of the administration offices on the front end of this campus. Here I took this slide. You can see on the west side, this will be the bus turn lane, the traffic parent drop off in bus lanes, with one of the 2 gates that will be on the property to control activity, traffic activity for safety during school hours. You go inside the building, there is, as it's currently, the current status is the entry. This is the administrative and the main office area. Standing in that area, looking further east into the front end of the school, far right would be the entry, a little bit to the left is into the main lobby of the new building. Here you can see the architect's design, one of the first 2 collective areas in the main lobby. This is the curvilinear form on that main entry on that west side of the north portion of the building, west side area A that we referenced earlier. Similarly, we have this open collaborative space, common area. This is on the east area with more of a rectilinear design. Standing in that area, looking further back towards the restroom areas, common areas, and on the far left, behind me and to your right, is where we have the classrooms. This is one of the combined areas that are in the building, the area A, some of the brand new design and construction. This is the video area, projection area that's off of the common area, which is on the west side. All glass walls, glass door. There you see some of the new millwork. This is the gym, the brand new gym. You see, I'm in the northwest corner looking southeast, which is also the FEMA safe room. Actually, it's a safe room. Another view. This is where we were able to salvage the chair carts from the original construction. And between the project manager, SPS project manager, and the architect incorporated the same detail to slide the chair racks underneath the stage. Oh, that was a good save. This is connecting looking ahead to the north, that is the new building. Behind me would be then the portion of the old building, the transition, another collaborative learning area with the seating over to your right. Corridor, again, I'm looking south, connecting the new construction design. I'm about to enter in some of the existing, the salvage portions of the original building. This is over on the west side. The architects have done a great job. In the center, you see the corridor. On the right were the original classrooms, which have been opened up for larger spaces. And then on the left is some of your learning labs in the center area. This is the old APR, or so as some call it in the past, the gym and cafetorium. This is it. Look at that area. And then you see the servery and kitchen on the left side here. And looking up, we're replacing the old glass and broken glass block has been replaced by new storefront. View of the kitchen, brand new. This is the playground. And in Fremont, and a brief update on Fremont's statuses, construction move-in schedule. I wanted to share with you, we have the anticipated temporary certificate of occupancy is July 29th. New furnishings are scheduled July 20th. Actually, some of them are trickling in now, but primarily July 20th through July 28th. We have a temporary office for Mr. Grandin, the principal, on July 28th. So he and his secretary will move in on that day. Teachers are moving into the building August 3rd. We have our health inspection on August 8th. First food deliveries confirmed today is August 10th. And as we know, August 17th is the start of school. Moving on to Kickapoo. Another great project. You've seen this the last few quarterly reports. This is the architectural rendering cross-section of the new auditorium, which is a FEMA safe room. This is the new entry on the east side, a view. Walking further around. The new east entry. Yes.
I hate to do this, but you made a point of it, so don't give me a long answer. But you've been clear to say safe room and then FEMA safe room, so like real broad view, what's the difference?
Quick is FEMA the safe room rather than a tornado shelter. Safe room is a space that you go in during the event of a tornado, and then after the tornado is over, then the occupants would be expected to leave.
And also, if I may, the FEMA safe room is actually through grant funded, so there's federal money for that. That makes it the official FEMA room. The other sites that have safe rooms, we built to those standards. So
They don't get the same name because they don't have federal funds.
Yes.
I'm with
Correct.
you. How very federal of them. But
Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question and for the clarification, Ms. Wayne. The entry. Moving in the new east entry, which will be then used the first time this fall. Everyone's excited about this. And there you see the granite stand. That's to receive the new bronze chief head, which is expected within days. This is the concourse that connects. I'm looking south, standing in front of the new area and the new auditorium, looking south. Then you see it opens up into the new east entry. This is the concourse. So what was previously still is the band hall to your right. We now have the concourse for transition and the glass on your left. As you turn around, this is the entry, the surrounding. This is the south wall of the new auditorium. That's your ticket area. Just inside there, the corridor, there's a concession area. There's two hallways on the west and the east. This is the example of one of the restrooms. It's finished. Stepping in, going through the hallway, is this would be on the east side. This is a view of the auditorium. It's completed form, a little more completed than the last time that we visited with you. Looking back up, you can see the nice chairs, and up above is the room up above for the presentation. A better view of the auditorium looking down to the stage. This is an example for fun. This is the old chair, the old auditorium, which I'm sure many of you sat in, and the new chairs.
Really nice.
Big difference. Old auditorium, new auditorium. And with that, any questions? I would like to make a comment, if I may, that in the last week we took a project progress tour with Ms. Embry and Dr. Jungman, and it was really fun to go through the tour with them and listen to them and talk about how the architecture on projects, and more specifically to Fremont, how the hard work on many months of design has come to fruition. A great project, the collaboration of the spaces, the relationship of spaces, the flow, and how it's going to work. It was really awesome to hear that. And the reason I want to mention that is combined with the Springfield Contractor Association meeting that we had last week. It was very evident within the construction community. We meet once a month. They said they see the improvements that are happening with Springfield School District, and one of the comments was, these are exciting times for the district. They're very pleased. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Comments or questions? I mean, the pictures are amazing. Anxious to get out and see a new auditorium, or the theater auditorium, and as well as see Fremont. So what was the date again that teachers will be moving into Fremont?
Teachers for Fremont, the teachers move in on August the 3rd
Okay.
is the anticipated date. And Mr. Brandon and his secretary will move in the 28th. We will have enough time to keep it open, allow the contractors to finish their work, but at the same time give the teachers time to open up and get ready, final setup after the furniture is moved in and school gets ready August 17th. Exciting projects. We are ready to go. We will be ready to go.
Jerry?
Anything else?
I just made a comment. I know we had the discussion early on about, do we put the auditorium in, do we not put the auditorium in? I think we're going to sit back and go, that was the best decision and smartest decision we've made. Well, not made, but I mean, for that particular project. To go
You're talking about the pit? The pit?
Huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, just
Just
Move forward with
move forward
it,
with
Jim.
it.
It's just,
I guess that's one thing I got a couple questions about Kickapoo. Was there any portion of the project that was committed to the voters that wasn't completed on Kickapoo? No. Okay, so we were able to deliver everything in the scope that was promised.
That
to
is
the
correct.
patrons. And then it was just something I clouded over in my mind if you said it, Brian. Do we have the C of O on that one? The certificate of
We do have a
occupancy?
C of O.
Okay, so
Yes.
we're close to close that.
Yes,
close to that.
very close. It's just the fact that just the last few days they finished up the last two punch lists. We are actually ahead of schedule. It's looking great.
Fantastic, and I didn't check as closely maybe as I should have, but have we received all our FEMA money?
I believe there's one small payment left.
One left? Okay.
anything else? Thank you very much.
Two fantastic projects. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Exciting for us.
After we get past all the excitement of school opening, then we'll work on ribbon cuttings and those things to celebrate those once we get school functioning.
Very good, thank you. We'll move on to agenda item 8, board policy. And exciting, there are no policies for review this evening, but we will have,
Since it was first read, since it was combined meeting, we do have some recommendations, but we're holding up till August so you
Right.
get the full opportunity to review.
Can't we just celebrate for like?
Oh, sorry.
100 years?
You'll have some in August.
board policy, so they will come to us for first read, our August study session, and for approval. So I think, which is probably good since we're doing it combined. So thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, moving on to new business, tuition rate for 2016-17. Ms. Embry.
I would like to pause and say to Mrs. Patterson, CFO is Certificate of Occupancy, and FEMA stands for Federal Emergency Management Agency.
I knew FEMA, but I did whisper, and he didn't hear me, but you did. Do you know what CFO means? Because you violated the acronym.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Say it. Well, that is what came to mind.
Certificate of Occupancy.
Now, that'll come up again for me sometime in 30 years.
And I could have highlighted during the treasurer's report piece, but it is included in the bond financial reported. At June 30, there was approximately $230,000 left to be received. I don't have the answer as to whether we've received it yet this month, but we'll be reporting that. Thank you. Okay, so tuition reimbursement. This is another one of those opportunities that were provided according to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. And this is pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute 167.131, as has been indicated on the screen there for you. Basically, although we do not have open enrollment for students to come into our district, we are still required to set an attendance rate. In the event that we would ever be required to do that, we would have this already set. And I'd like to point out that this calculation is based on a specific process that's provided by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. And we use the data from the 2014-15 school year per that procedural requirement. And provided for you are the tuition rates for each of the student groupings, K-5, 6 through 8, and 9 through 12. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. This is much like approving bus routes, even though we we know we have them, we must go through that process.
Any questions, comments about this agenda item?
Move to approve.
Second.
Nice
Hey,
work,
hey, hey,
gentlemen.
hang
I was in.
I need to call for that first, so. But I appreciate your enthusiasm. So at this time, do I hear a motion that the board set the tuition rates as presented? And we have a motion by Jerry Lee, and we have a second by Tim Rosenberry. So we'll vote. I'll bet they were all fast.
It could be.
That one's pretty simple.
That's a pretty one. Yeah. Very good. Motion passes. We'll move on to unfinished business. We do not have these items this evening. Move right on to public comments. I feel like I need to slow down.
No, I don't know why you do it.
Moving on. But anyway, public comments. So at this time, the Board of Education allows comments on topics not related to the printed agenda. So Mrs. Luke, do we have comments? We do not. Okay, moving on. Strategic discussion. So at this time, we will hear from Ms. Emery on our strategic discussion on focus area 3. Okay. All right.
Okay, so yes, focus area 3. So I will take you on this journey and let me figure out which keys I need to press. There we go. So focus area 3 is on financial sustainability and operational efficiency, and that is a very familiar document at this point in time. This does represent the summary of our strategic plan that has been presented to you in various meetings as we've covered focus areas 1 and 2, and also in your strategic conversation. So I would like to comment first that obviously our focus in public education is on the student, and basically focus area 3 is that envelope or support system around the work of focus area 1, just like focus area 2 supports the staffing to deliver instruction. And so as we journey forward in this presentation, you'll hear some things that you've heard before through other presentations from Focus Area 1. And again, that speaks to our collaborative work together and us aligning in that work as we consider what's best for our students in Springfield Public Schools. So Focus Area 3, we have now refined this. I didn't look up the meeting at which we had our roundtable conversation during a study session, but we did come to you and present to you at that time some of the basic ideas behind it. And you may remember we had 4 different objectives at that time, but we've synthesized that down now to 2 objectives with 7 strategies and 12 key performance indicators. And I do want to just take a moment and talk about the process behind the scenes. So we've had opportunity to engage with not only the leaders from the finance and operations team, but also principals have partnered with us, and we have explored various components of the information that we had provided to you previously and continued to identify what's most important in our district. So this evening I'll comment about some of those examples of success in the work in progress, and then we'll plan to circle back in December with additional information. So the overarching key performance indicator for all of what I'm presenting to you this evening is stakeholder satisfaction. And that's a common theme in a lot of what we talk about. So we will be working on developing some of those surveys that will help us know if we're hitting the mark in terms of meeting the needs of our students and staff. And as we delve into objective 1, that is seek and optimize resources. And that focus is on maximizing our existing resources, partnerships that we currently have or will be identifying as new opportunities, and also process improvement in general. And that is a great deal of the focus as we move forward for this work. So for maximizing our existing resources, we really don't have a lot of options in terms of how we would approach that. We know that if we increase student experiences, that increases their engagement, and that also then causes them to want to be in school, which increases attendance, and that is certainly an indicator for us, a key performance indicator. How are we doing with regard to attendance each year? And as we've discussed in various budget presentations, attendance drives our state revenue, and so attendance does matter. We do need our students in session or in an online session with us. The other area that we have identified as a key performance indicator is our support of economic development within the community, because economic development in our community can drive our local assessed valuation, and that certainly drives then our revenue from the local community through the calculation of the tax rate divided by the assessed valuation divided by $100, because our levy is set per $100 of assessed valuation. So when we talk about some of the successes and work in process, certainly we've talked before about the synergistic program and what that might bring for us. And as a reminder, that's that energy savings program where we've not budgeted for the savings just yet. We plan to bring that to you when we realize those savings. But overall, it's again taking a look at how can we use our resources that we currently have within the system to a higher advantage for us. So that's one example. We also, we've talked often about the Explore program and our summer school enrollment. This past year, we've estimated at approximately 18,000, and that compares to 7,800 in 2015 and 3,800 in 2014. So again, this is the same information we provided you previously, but it's just that reminder that this is all part of financial sustainability and operational efficiency. Based on that, we've included in the budget, you'll recall, approximately 800 new ADA for that summer programming. But more importantly, we have gone from in summer 2014, 265,000 instructional hours to approximately 1.6 million instructional hours for 2016.
18,000, is that 18,000 unique students or 18,000 two sessions?
Those are unique student experiences.
It's overlap.
Okay.
I think
It's not
For the
18,000
online.
different students.
No, you can count twice, because
Oh,
you could have
yes.
done more than one session, you could have done more than
That's
one.
okay, that's what
I think it's about 12,500
That's what I thought.
unique enrolled
Okay.
for 18,000.
Which is still pretty great.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I'm correct. Good question. So again, we aren't at a place yet to talk about the experience in terms of a financial impact. As soon as all the costs have been experienced and all the ADA has been calculated, we'll be ready to do that. And I believe that in September, we anticipate bringing a comprehensive summer school report to you for Explore. And that will include not only the partnership impact, but also the financial piece of it as well. Okay, so again, under Seek and Optimize, support our current and also identify new partnership opportunities to augment our existing resources. Again, that student experience equals engagement, equals attendance and participation, and that is our mission truly here. So supporting that effort, and also then the collaboration piece, as well as supporting the needs of our principals, meaning supporting our needs of our teachers and our students in the buildings. That's part of that customer satisfaction that will be evident through the survey information. So this is a Marty Moore primary focus, and so she has willingly indicated she will be the champion of this area with me, and that's another exciting piece for us, is that whole partnership. So there is not a way that we could possibly identify all of the partners who support us in this district, but I think it's important to note that in the 2015-16 school year, Marty shares with me that we had 214 partners identified in this district, and that is phenomenal. That is a 73% increase over the partners that we had the year prior. And that is also an amazing feat. So a
You
big
said at one
thing.
time there was 200 and, what'd you say?
214 partners in the 2015-16 school year, and that represented a growth of 73% over the prior year. And so those are intentional conversations that are taking place, and I know that Mrs. Moore is working to very specifically align the services with the needs in our individual sites, because they are varied, and our partners are willing to come forward and assist us through that. So we're excited about that work continuing. So again, this is just a small representation. I could highlight for you, some of these partners have helped and explore, whether it be specific opportunities with Bass Pro, and the NAACP has provided camp opportunities. Mrs. Moore can speak more clearly about all of that, but we're excited about the work ahead for us. So I've listed again some of our faith-based partners and universities. I'll comment about the faith-based partners. This year we had approaching 11,000 volunteer hours for refreshing in many of our buildings. I know Dr. Jungman actually participated in one of those events on a Saturday, and we, again, are so appreciative of all the efforts of all of our partners in helping us through that. The faith-based partners provide also backpack support and tutoring, that type of thing, but again, the list is long and far-reaching.
Bigger than that, like support for lunchtime, right? Which is like
Yes.
hazard duty.
Right.
Carol, do we survey our business partners after the fact to get feedback?
I'll invite you to come.
We have historically, and we're looking to align throughout the district so that each individual entity is not doing that surveying, and we're working to
Be more strategic
coordinate that and make
through
it
that.
more timely and strategic. So, yes, we do.
The answer is yes.
To me, for it to be significant, you don't have to monetize it, and I'm trying to wrap my head around what the,
Right.
if we were to monetize the impact of all of the hours from 214 partners, do you have any ballpark?
We've had that conversation about there being value in doing that, but we're not there yet for last year's service.
Suffice it to say, it will be a big number.
It will be a huge number, yes.
That's really precise.
And I know I've said it before, but please grant me the liberty to say it again. I've not seen this type of community and collaboration in my nearly a quarter of a century in public education. And it's just phenomenal, and something that we should not take for granted here, because it's tremendous, and certainly our kids benefit from that. Okay, I will move forward. Okay, another opportunity under Seek and Optimize, and this again to me is a big one. I mean, all of these things are important, but this is far-reaching, and that is researching and implementing best practices for process improvement. So we've talked about forming cross-functional teams to collaborate and identify what's working, what's not, what opportunities for improvement do we have. We've actually been doing this. We have business software review teams established to analyze workflow for employees and also identify how software is talking with one another. That's just another example. And we believe that through that, our employees will be more satisfied in their work when we are working smarter and not harder in some situations. So increased productivity, and that will be a tough one to measure. A lot of it will be telling the story, because again, wrapping our arms around the specific data to support some of this will be a challenge. But we know we've got a few examples. Again, I've got Explore highlighted, and as I mentioned before, we have common threads woven throughout all of our work of the strategic plan. We also made a significant improvement to the facility improvement process. Took it from and that's a situation where the touch points of a building principal engaging through that, it went from, I think it was around 20, or maybe it was 17, down to 4. And that changed the game for them. It relieved them of the stress of dealing with the situation so that they could then focus their energy on instruction. So how do you measure that? That would be challenging, but it's very important nonetheless. The other is that capital and controlled purchase improvement process that we just implemented this past year. The facility improvement process we implemented a couple of years, or about 18 months ago, and then the capital and controlled purchases just recently. And so through that, we have engaged with the instructional leaders to ensure that they're making a contribution in providing voice on what the needs are within the building and at the sites. So it was an interesting time this past year due to the facility master plan work that we are currently undergoing, but we know that that process will continue to improve as we move forward as well. Okay, so objective 2 is manage and align resources. And we know that our focus should be needs-based. We know that we need to be compliant with any rules that are upon us in public education. And then we have also that facility master plan process underway, as well as an equipment plan. And to take a closer look at that, with regard to allocating resources in a needs-based manner, we know that equity is at the forefront of that effort. And I have Mrs. Moore's slide. I thought that was so precious from her presentation. I thought I would adopt that. This is a perfect visual for equity versus equality. And everyone getting the same thing does not provide equity to our students, dependent on the resources that exist within a building or the particular needs of the students. So we will continue exploring that and determining what that needs to look like. So equity leveled support, that means leveled support of the needs by student characteristics. So it's not numbers, it's not student volume necessarily in terms of enrollment, but certainly what are their specific needs. So we're in the process of developing that allocation strategy, and we have a variety of opportunities to apply that with. One small example is the recent communication that we provided you with regard to taking a closer look at how the title funds have been utilized for staffing purposes and providing a different approach dependent on the needs in the building to provide services for students. So that is one example. Manage and align, we also have that compliance factor, and complying with internal and external accountability requirements, whether we like it or not, it's part of the work that must be done. And so we do have federal, state, and of course our local requirements. And local requirements can include building code rules, that type of thing. And certainly we have our Board of Education policies that have been aligned to Missouri statute as well. So for us, the KPIs, or key performance indicators, would be the number of recurring audit recommendations. And we know that through every audit, you're likely to have recommendations for improvement. And so it's not a bad thing to have recommendations, but if there is a recommendation and there's not a valid reason for it to not be implemented, then for that to show up again would be one of the things that we would look at. So the other item is the number of financial audit state findings that might be provided to us, and the goal there, of course, would always be 0. And also, we must keep in mind that operating fund balance percentage trajectory, which we do have a board policy, and that is a data point that we routinely look at throughout our conversations at budget time. So we'll continue ensuring that we bring policies forward to you, and we did that effort in the past couple of years. We brought in all of the MSBA policies for your approval, and now we are in that routine process of providing you updates. And important to note with regard to the operating fund balance, that it must be a long-term balanced trajectory. We cannot simply look at the current year or the next year. We need to look out at least for a 5-year period and determine if the decisions that we make today occur, then how will that play out, or other assumptions that we would include relative to funding from the state and local entities. Okay, so also under manage and align, we talked with you before about the facility master plan. We've commented about some of that briefly. I'm happy that we've been able to have a few board members go through that process with us, and engage in those conversations. A multitude of meetings have occurred to help deliver that work, and we anticipate that a recommendation will, or the first report, not the final report, but there will be a presentation to the board at the August study session, would be on the calendar at this point in time. And there would be subsequent meetings where that information would be brought forward as well, including into September. So at that time, we will be provided the detail of the assessment with regard to the final report, and also those prioritized recommendations. And again, this is all about focusing on the student, the learning environment that the student has, and the ability for us to provide an appropriate environment for them. It includes building and site condition assessment and technology readiness as well. The last item is developing and deploying a plan to meet the equipment needs of our students and staff. And this again would need to be needs-based, focused on instruction and program identification of industry standards. This is all work that would be done in collaboration with our instructional team, our learning team, because again, it's about meeting the needs of the students and changing the way we're delivering instruction for them. So we'll develop that equipment plan list and continue the process of identifying needs from our building leaders and incorporating that into that. And this work shouldn't take too long. It will become a matter of discussing the funding options for it. Okay. Our next steps with regard to Focus Area 3 include developing that survey to ensure that stakeholder engagement and satisfaction remains a priority, and our stakeholders will represent a multitude of groups, not only employees, but likely others as well. We'll work on that prioritization list for process improvement strategies and continue that work, and then come back and report to you again in December with the progress that we've made. Be happy to answer any questions you might have regarding Focus Area 3. It's more about the nuts and bolts side of our world, not the Focus Area 1 has so many, the cool part, that's exactly what I was looking for.
Basically, yes.
Yes, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Again, I have no kids, I have no children.
Okay, any questions or comments or just discussion?
I'll offer a couple comments. Is that I think your teams are making great progress. This work is not glamorous. It's not the front lines, but it's a real opportunity to bring better value to the stakeholders of the district. And when you made the presentation at a recent meeting about the facilities plan, it's a whole new way of doing things. I think we're getting much better outcomes. Our priorities are becoming clearer, and the collaboration piece where you're bringing people from different functional areas of the district to all focus on one goal, and that is providing an education to our children is what you should be doing. So thank you for reporting on this. Thank you for staying vigilant on it. I know that there's probably, it feels like 3 steps forward and 2 steps back, or maybe 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. But from the outside, it looks like you're starting to round the curve.
It feels that way.
Good. I am really glad to hear that, Carol. But yeah, just keep going, because this is one of the few areas where we really can make a big difference in how we spend money. Given that a significant amount of our budget is payroll, and we know that we pretty much know what we have to do there. So keep on keeping on. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I think I would just like to say thank you for having key performance indicators.
it helps from kind of a strategic level to know what we need to be looking at for data points. And I really appreciate the fact that even if you don't have it figured out exactly how you're going to measure or assess it, you at least have a general idea of what it is. So some of those we can already look to and point to, and we have data to look at, and some of it has yet to be developed, and that's okay. So I just want to say thank you for making that clear for us at a strategic level to know what to look at. And then, you know, I think we all probably here at this table, and a lot of people sitting in the seats too, we've talked a lot about our community from a chamber standpoint of being a collaborative community, and we hear that buzzword in our community a lot, but I think it's nice to have a data point that can point to 214 partners that have collaborated with us and the impact that that has. And I know that we didn't have a 73% increase in 1 year without people making intentional, without staff, cabinet, and teachers and principals making an intentional effort to build on those relationships. So I just think that is a super exciting data point that I'll just only say those few words. So I think that's exciting.
Anything else? And one thing I want to go back to is your manage and align slide, in which your keep your KPI, development of allocation strategy, and help me with this, but I believe we have already seen some of that, a piece of that, correct? Because when you gave us an example of all the work you did in the spring to make contact with every building principal and to prioritize their facility requirements, it seems to me that that was the beginning of that development. Is that accurate? Or is that something
that
else?
definitely is part of it? And again, that's where it's all basically woven together. So the effort is continually moving and changing, and determining where we need to go with that is what's left to be decided. And also, I mean, it can include, another example would be how we approach allocations to each site based on, you know, do we look at free and reduced population? Do we look at we already know that there are certain funds with regard to title that change the game for that, but, you know, what are those measures that we need to consider as we are determining the appropriate resource allocation? And that can be on all levels.
And as someone that was in a position at one time in which I was doing the asking for dollars for facility improvement in a couple of different buildings, I'm very impressed that the process that you went through, very consistent and very fair process that you went through to make contact with each building leader as to their needs, and then prioritize that based on the instructional piece, which is what we're here for.
That's right. We
Anyway,
recognize that.
I just wanted to go back to that one because that one kind of resonated with me in terms of the development of allocation strategy as an indicator. So, good one. Okay. Anyone else? Thank you. Okay, move on. Thank you. To report from administration, Dr. Sheldon.
Since it's a combined meeting, I will ask cabinet members if they have any additional updates, and I would begin with Ms. Turner.
Yes, I wanted to give you some information on our hiring statistics. We currently have mid-20s on our vacancies, so we're making progress on that. We had a total of about 750 teachers that were hired for Explore. That was for both sessions. So the breakdown internally was about 500. Externally was about 180, 185, and then we utilized Kelly Services to fill in some of those other areas, about 60. So that's the breakdown. And then you also had some questions about the years of experience and how that played out. So new teachers, about 140. 1 year to 10 years of experience, about 350. And over 10 years of experience was about 250. That kind of gives you a little bit of an idea on the statistics for Explore.
So new teachers would be, this was their first experience?
Correct.
Correct. Just coming in. So many of those are ones that we'd hired, and they got the opportunity to
Yeah.
get in on the
That's
ground
pretty
floor
good.
early.
Brilliant.
And some of them aren't people that we hired permanently, but they are work for the summer for us.
Yeah.
It's a good head start if you've ever transitioned into teaching and that gap without any
Absolutely.
resources and all the things, and the opportunity to hit the classroom early on. It's hopefully met a need for them and met a need for us.
I'll keep on with Explore. We have about 8 days left, so that's pretty exciting. We've had very successful session 1 and 2. I would say that we've seen tremendous, we've got tremendous feedback about experiences. Students going off and having repeated experiences, taking a deeper dive in engagement. We are now looking at ways to expand that experience and pilot it for this next academic year, and more kids from what we're learning from our teachers and our community partners right now. So we're so thankful for what you've just echoed in our community partners. Could never do without them. And when we go out and talk to them, they are changed because of the experiences, just like our students have been changed. And that's going to continue to strengthen. We are also doing survey data from students, teachers, leaders, community partners, saying, okay, how did this big blowout go? What can we do better? So we'll be getting that data in. We'll be bringing it back for the full report in September. I think we've got it tentatively set for September 20th. Prior to that, we are going to host a community engagement reception of something to say thank you, and also engage them again, like how can we continue to make this robust? Because we recognize summer is choice. You don't have to come to summer school. So what other experiences could we be planning for 17 right now? So, I've already been to the watershed. Well, now we're going to go here. So we have to continue to be innovative and cutting edge about those experiences. So very excited about what we're seeing and Explore, and looking forward to the full report and the feedback from our staff. Also, just kind of piggybacking on our teacher hiring and induction, 130 of our teachers have gone through the day 1 experience of teacher induction. We flipped that model from 4 days in August to 1 day repeated Groundhog's Day. The leaders would tell you. They got their device, they got their curriculum, they got networked in. So they've had multiple 60 days of kind of induction, plus they might have been teaching in Explore classes. So they are fully immersed into our culture before they ever get here for first day of learning. So that's very exciting. Our day 2 training will be in the building. They'll be with building leaders. Day 3 is everybody coming together. That will be August 8th at University Plaza. I think we'll have a welcome from Dr. Frederick. And that's going to be, that's the first time they'll all be together. And then the 4th day of training is back in their building. And I also just want to thank Learning Supports and Mrs. Moore's team for all of the summer learning workshops that were hosted for teachers, social studies curriculum, coming in for learning about adaptive technology, just numerous opportunities for our staff. If you're a new teacher, you could have easily had 30 hours of professional development before you've ever gotten here, if you took advantage of all the opportunities. Then, as we close down Explore, we're getting ready for our teachers. We start thinking about Ignite Year 2. So we have our kickoff scheduled for August 10th. It'll be at Glendale High School. We're expecting about 900 educators. So we hope you'll be able to come and join us, and we'll make sure to send you a communication. We are starting the day with a Rise and Shine happy hour. That'll start at 7:15 in the morning. So, and then we're going to close the training day with a Survivor happy hour, and that's going to be at 4 o'clock. But they're giving away fabulous prizes and gifts at both of those, so if you want to show up, you would be more than welcome. And then we just gear up. The first day of school is August 17th, and so we're so thankful for all the leaders this summer. We're thankful for all the teachers and leaders preparing for this opening of the school year. Just recognize quickly too our SBS communication that we have so many opportunities for kids to get immunization shots, and lots of our facilities are free, so we'd encourage our families to look at that. And lastly, I just want to take a moment and welcome Dr. Shane Dublin. He's our new Executive Director of Secondary Education. So Shane's been on since July 1, and he has it all figured out. So we're
Anyone have any questions or comments for?
let me just say on that, I'm really pleased that we're moving to a pilot project on something that's been successful. It just seemed like to me that was my broken record. We had some excellent things happen in isolation in our district that affected 50 or 60 students, and we never's the wrong word. We very seldom took those and expanded them, not just to the whole population, but even to a bigger pilot group to say, can't we do this? I don't know. I don't have an answer for why. I just know that, well, I read about the pilot and what you've done in some, and I think that's excellent. And it may work during the regular year and may not, but it's what we ought to be doing when we think, and I don't know why it's taken us so long to do that. We don't have to go look at somebody else doing it. We've got all these things. My gosh, how many things do we have happen in the summertime right in our own district that affect our kids that have similar backgrounds in a lot of our schools. So I am really, a lot of things to be excited about, but that's one of the few times I've seen us say, this is a good thing, let's try it during the year and see if that doesn't affect hundreds, not 50.
And I appreciate that. It's really the courage of the board to have started the magnet programs where we have these kind of incubator moments where we have 50 or 60 kids. Wolf program's a great example. Now we've kind of expanded that for Explore. We had 500 kids, but that's still very choice option. You didn't have to come to summer school. So how can we infuse that experience-based learning in the regular curriculum? And I can't let it all out yet, but it looks like it's going to be about 500 students from a number of schools, and it's going to be some sort of outdoor learning education experience. So we're still very much in the preliminary stages of it, but very exciting for those kids. I can guarantee.
Thank you very much. Yes, I agree.
I mentioned before that we anticipate a preliminary report be provided to the board with regard to facility master planning August 9th during the study session. So that is some primary work that's coming forward. I want you to know that the process to identify financing for the Shining Stars Early Childhood Center that did close June 30, that purchase closed June 30, that RFP has gone out, and we did notify some of the local financial institutions who've expressed interest to us, and also have that posted on our website. The deadline for bids to be submitted to finance that property is July 29th. And as a reminder, we are required by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education to do the financing for this on an 8-year basis, an 8-year repayment plan. So I'll cover more of that with you when we bring that information forward at the next board meeting. And at that point in time, we would be asking you to approve the actual lender and authorize us to move forward with those documents to close that deal. So that principal payment will be 100% reimbursed through Early Childhood Special Education funds. And then with regard to the teams of staff in finance and operations, we have people who still have their one foot in last year and another foot in the new year, and certainly from the operations team perspective, a lot of work going on behind the scenes to make sure we're ready for that start of school on August 17th. So business as usual.
I think the cabinet covered some of the same things I had here, so you get the short version of, I'm moving straight to legislative update. So, and I think Jerry will help me echo this. I spent 3 days in Washington, D.C. last week as part of AASA's advocacy conference, meeting with our congressional delegation, having a lot of conversations around the federal impact on us as school leaders, the board, our community, and ways that they can support the work. The biggest thing on the radar at the federal level continues to be ESSA, right? So every Student Succeeds Act, replacing No Child Left Behind, and right now the contention is all in the regulation construction. You get updates from MSBA regarding this, but there's significant concern with some of the regulation construction reverting back to past behaviors of No Child Left Behind. And I heard from even the authors of the bill asking us to hold them accountable. We're in comment period, and when we say they, we mean the Department of Education at the federal level. We're in comment period, so we'll be submitting comments as leaders. I know our associations are submitting comments to make sure that the true intent of the law is carried out when we talk about giving authority back to the states so that they can do accountability in a more effective and appropriate way. But we're seeing some blurring of that in some of the regulations that have already been constructed. So that was one of the big things that we had a lot of conversations with our delegation about, their partnership in moving that. The other big items always at the federal level are the Child Nutrition Act, which is up for reauthorization also, and conversations regarding the impact of how the laws and the elements of that affect our students, reimbursement levels, as well as ingredients and the expectations of regulation around those. Also Perkins and IDEA. So those are the four big funnels for resources that flow to our district. So I think the most immediate is ESSA, and then we're staying tuned on nutrition and Perkins and IDEA. It didn't give us much hope. Phyllis would tell you the same thing. She was out. She is the president-elect for CASE at the national level and was doing some work on the Hill also, working on IDEA reauthorization, and we're not quite there yet. It's on the path, but don't expect a whole lot of action in the next few months as we're in this huge election cycle. So, Jerry, additions from school board's perspective?
You hit before that we were really focusing on, and I don't know, maybe just a couple of things. Right, the Perkins Act, pretty much bipartisan act, so hopefully we'll get that done this fall. Hopefully it's got a chance to go this fall, which is a great thing for us, working with non-college bound students particularly, and the importance of high quality rigor in the high school, even if you're not going to college, and the importance of that. So we had the opportunity to meet with all 10 of our congressional leaders and really emphasize, get this thing through, get it going. Child Nutrition Act, back up one, I want to thank Dr. Jungman and your staff. I know when you go talk to the people in the Hill, you can talk theoretical, but when you've got, they provided me tons of data and anecdotal information about what happens in Springfield. So I could sit across from our representative or our senator and say, here's what it's doing in Springfield. Here's what waste we're seeing for child nutrition, kids dumping stuff in the trash before they ever sit down. Just things like that that were really helpful and eye-opening to some legislators that they don't hear all that stuff. They get it from 15 different directions for these things. One of the things that I'm concerned about, we're concerned about on child nutrition, is the change in the community eligibility provision. Back up. Basically, the law says any community that has 40% poverty rate is eligible for reimbursement and funding for free and reduced lunch. They're talking about raising that to 60, which I think everybody's fighting it, and it's in one of the bills, and so which will create a huge burden on non-school related entities to pick up the slack, and I don't think the infrastructure is there to do that. I'm pretty optimistic that that'll go away, but that would have a huge impact on us from the number of schools that are just between 40 and 60 that it would impact as far as free and reduced lunch meals. So some of those things that look good has a huge impact in educating the congressional leaders on this is what it's going to do in Springfield and how many kids are impacted, and we don't have anybody to pick up that slack. So I'm not encouraged that child nutrition act will get done this year, but keep your head against the wall to do that and keep fighting for that. So I don't know that I would add anything else other than there is real concern with the SSA that regulations follow the law, and they go through negotiated rulemaking. I think they're done with that. I think they're pretty much done with that. But that's where everybody comes together and tries to agree on something. And if you don't agree, it goes back to the department. So they make the decision. That's the biggest fear I have, is when consensus isn't drawn, the department makes the final decision and they revert back to what they learned. And so
some of the regs, they did come to consensus, some they did not.
They did not.
And so we
And I've been through negotiated rulemaking for many, many years, and it's not pretty at all. Most of the time, everybody comes out unhappy to some degree. Maybe that's good, not everybody's happy. But this was very productive 3 days up there talking to them, and certainly would encourage any of you that had an opportunity to go talk to them and spend the time with them. Even back here, talking to them. Just a plug, Congressman Long's in town next Tuesday at the Chamber, so if you want to go hear him next Tuesday at the Chamber, yeah.
I'm sure we probably will get some.
I've got calendar this second. And I would say not only he, but the rest of the delegation is on recess at this point. Obviously, the conventions are requiring a lot of their attendance, but they'll be back in the community for quite some time, I think. The
7:30.
AM?
Sorry.
Actually recognize that time of day.
I don't either.
Like, what?
But it's really important for board members to be up there.
I'm sorry.
Conversing with them, having them understand the situation we're in. So thanks for the opportunity to go.
Thanks for representing us.
Excellent. Okay, board comments. Anyone on the board has had an opportunity to do anything in schools or have a comment? Okay.
I make one comment.
Okay.
Last week, I had the opportunity to go back to Washington and participate in an emergency management training program with FEMA with 14 other community members and several schools dealing with developing our emergency plan for the district. And it was really, those of them who've been in it 18 months doing it might have been a little, not new stuff, but for some of us that are not familiar with what goes on with school planning, it was pretty interesting. And I've done emergency planning for 40 years, but with utility, totally different with the school and what you're dealing with and how you deal with 24,000 kids in an emergency as opposed to a power plant or something like that. It's just a different mindset. And so I really appreciate that. We got great people thinking about how to keep our kids safe and how to respond to whatever emergency, whether it's tornado, flood, or package year. They're addressing every scenario there. So I applaud the staff. As an outsider looking in, they're doing a great job. So, but I appreciate that opportunity. It was really, really interesting to go out there in the middle of nowhere.
Another great example of a partnership with the county and others.
Yeah, 10 people over there from the district and the county, sheriff, emergency management. I don't think the city was there. Cox, emergency management, not emergency management, but emergency medical services. I mean, it was broad, and two other schools were there, one from Salem, Oregon, and one from Doniphan, Missouri. So all of us had the opportunity to sit down and review, put together, develop an emergency plan process. Some are farther ahead. And it's just really interesting to see they were nowhere near the collaborative effort that we had with the groups right there. It was all school. It was all school. Didn't have the outside community from our district involved in the process to show up. And that was a surprise to them, not to us, but to them. It was, oh wow, you brought everybody to the table that needs to be there. So kudos to the staff that are working on that project.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Okay, we'll move on to our upcoming meetings, and so please help me if I miss something. I'm sure I will, but we have our August 9th, our study session. Then July 29th is our Explore graduation. And for those of you that may have not had an opportunity, because we have 2 board members, an opportunity to attend what we used to call summer school graduation, or fifth quarter graduation, I don't know. Anyway, we've had various terms. It is now Explore graduation. And that is usually a smaller, it's a smaller graduation, but it's extremely meaningful for the students that are graduating this summer. Many have overcome barriers that prevented them from graduating with their class. And it's very, very exciting time for those kids, and it's very meaningful to be a part of it. So that's on July 29th, and I think Kathy, Ms. Lewin, will be sending you an email if she hasn't already. Wanting to know if you're going to be there so that you can be recognized. But it's a very fun event. The students wear their colors, their cap and gown colors for their homeschool. So it's a neat event. So put that on your calendars if you have time. The other thing I might mention is it August 8th, the new teacher induction? Okay. If you want to attend something with more energy, with lots and lots of energy and excitement, that's the new teacher induction time at University Plaza. And I've been fortunate enough for the last couple of years to get to just say greetings, hello to the teachers, because, and it's become a very, one of my favorites. Of course, I say that about everything. Everything's my favorite thing to do. But one of my favorite things to do is because I look at the new teachers and I put myself in that seat just a few years ago at my new teacher induction meetings. And so it's just it's a pleasure and it's a delight to see all the excitement. And I think, oh my goodness, how much fun they have ahead of them in the next few years. Hopefully they'll be with us for a long time, but that's an exciting event. So, want to have anything else between now and August 9 that we'd like to? Kathy, if I missed?
Yeah.
And then there's always, what, 8 days? The last day of Explore is?
Next Friday.
That's right, so we can get to a building. That's a fun thing to do too. Okay, moving on to our Plus Delta. So you'll take just a minute and make a note if there's something that you think we can do better or something that you especially like to see. Stick that on the wall. And at this time, we do need to move into an executive session following this meeting. So I'm looking for a motion that the board will conduct an exec session following this meeting to discuss legal, real estate, and audit matters as provided in sections 610.021, 1, 2, and 17 RSMO. I have a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Melina. Second? Second by Tim. We'll vote at this time.
It drives me nuts. It drives me nuts.
Okay, voting is complete. And
chatter is ongoing.
So at 6:51, we will adjourn this meeting.